welcome back. Welcome back. Diametric Convergence is who we are. My name, if you have forgotten, is Andrew. I am joined as usual by Brandon, and we got another episode, another show for you coming back this week. It's a good one. We got another good one for you.
Yeah, hello everyone. Welcome back to Diametric Convergence. We converge once again. And this week we have Jovana, and she is a great friend who I met a few years back when this whole Seven Healing Stars thing got created. And she was one of the original people at our first meeting. So she's super interesting and has lots of great ideas about sustainability and just society in general. We get into even addictions and kind of just the scene of this whole consciousness. So please enjoy.
All right, here we are. I guess back now. Brandon, what's up, man?
Hey man, good talking to you. It's been only a week, but
Yeah.
happy to be back once again on Diametric Convergence. And this week we have Jovana. She's a wealth of knowledge and has lots of experiences and range of things. And we're going to kind of talk about self-awareness and sovereignty and just taking care of yourself and getting back to the roots, I believe. So welcome, Jovana, and we're excited to talk with you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm always ready to talk about everything and anything. So this is a blessing. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's get right to it then. Where are you from? Who are you? What's your background? And how did you get here today?
Yeah. So I am from Denver. I'm from Colorado. I was raised here. I was born in Bosnia, and I'm a war child. So we came over here because of the civil war that happened in '95. And I've been here ever since. So, yeah. I currently live in Lakewood. I am a loan originator right now. I work for a financial group, but I do specialize in different kinds of things. I'm an herbalist. I'd like to think that I'm just an overall advocate for health and wellness as well, you know. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Right on. Yeah, that's crazy. Being a war child, you can kind of see stuff going on here as far as like the beginning of a civil war, and I hope that's not what's coming, but um, it's it's wild, and being from there, you kind of know like what it's about to fight with the country. Maybe not, maybe you were younger then, but you kind of understand that we shouldn't fight with each other and we need to be peaceful because we are blessed to have a country like this that isn't at civil war, and we need to maintain that, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. War is inevitable. It's going to happen either way, but to be avoided would be good. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was very young. I was very young, so I don't really remember the hardships. I do remember the plane ride over, which is pretty crazy because I was only 3.
Wow.
But I grew up here, so I didn't really see exactly what happened myself. But I do have 2 older sisters that did, and my parents went through a lot. Coming here, having to learn a whole new language, adapt to the system and how everything works. But yes, civil war is never good, but sometimes necessary. So.
Yeah, and it may have uh,
Mhm.
affected you. You didn't remember everything about it, but it affected your upbringing from your parents' experience in that, and your sister's experience, and what they teach you may go in, uh, may reflect what they've went through. So
Yeah, absolutely. It ties in with my belief system now a lot. and kind of just molded me into the person I am today, which I'm grateful,
Yeah.
but it's hard, PTSD is very real.
For
Right.
So,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. And so now you said you have a few things you like to do, and you're a herbalist and things like that. And what are some of your other passions, as far as like, maybe globally? Like, do you have any ambition to help, uh, a global on a global scale?
Um, I'm starting local because, yeah, I mean, globally, everybody wants to. I think we all instinctually have a need to help the human race. I mean, we're all connected in that way. But yes, globally, my herbalism is really based on just, it's kind of like my rebellion against the system, just because I don't really believe in pharmaceuticals. I think they cause more harm. But it also ties in with just the mental state globally as well. Medicine helps in a lot of ways, but I also think that just old school medicine, Eastern medicine or just plant medicine, helps more in some cases. So, I mean, there's a lot of other things that I like to learn about too. Um, I'm really obsessed with tiny homes, like
Yeah.
obsessed.
And why is that? What makes you obsessed with them?
It all ties in. I want a piece of land. I want to grow my herbs. I want to have my tiny home. I want to live self-sustainably, off the grid. I want to own everything I have. That's the dream. That's the goal, right? But I
Yeah.
think globally, I think that we need to instill more of that self-reliance in that way. I think that's important. um, we're not really taught that. We're kind of taught how to serve the system more, in my opinion. And that's just what I think. But that self reliance to me is important. And I think globally it would actually really, really help to live that way.
Yeah, and just, it doesn't have to be huge as far as what I say globally. It could just be more as, like what we're doing now. We're kind of getting our opinions out and getting our word out, and maybe people can learn that way, and kind of do more research and educate themselves on the things we're talking about today.
Right. Well, it's kind of like chaos theory, right? Like a butterfly's like flapping its wing can cause a hurricane like halfway across the world. Like even the smallest things can cause that, have that ripple effect where
Mm.
it gets larger and bigger and more, widespread. So even the smallest things can help us and make an impact.
Yeah,
So it
I agree.
doesn't have to be on that
Definitely.
level.
I think that the beginning stages should be education. I think that children need to be taught how to grow food. I think that children need to be taught how to build a house and grow food and do these things before they're taught, how fast we're spinning in space. That's just
And how
my
many,
opinion.
yeah, and like what adds, even, uh, the simple thing is like addition and subtraction. I feel like we should know how to grow our food before we even learn how to do math. We should be out on the farm.
Yeah.
Uh, but we definitely need to know math. But, how, what sustains us to live should be the number one thing maybe that we learn.
I mean, we can learn them together.
Right.
Why not have a
Just
math class? Why not have a science class? Why not have, a
Sustainability.
music class, English class, but then have a class on gardening, then have a class on botany, then have a class on, tiny home building or whatever, they're implementing classes on, learning about taxes, learning about credit, all that stuff. I have nieces that are in high school, also going into high school, and they're finally implementing classes on that, which is important. But it's like, hey, we need to lean more towards the self sustainability, I think.
So, yeah, I know when I was in high school, senior year, we had like a co-op program where we'd go work we'd go to school for half a day and then go work the other half. And in this class, but you had to be like in this class, and they taught us how to do our taxes. That's one thing I remember, like how to do our taxes, how to balance a checkbook. If this is showing my age, because I don't really think they do that so much anymore. But I'm sure other people, I mean, I'm not that old, but it's just checking accounts and balancing a checkbook has gone out pretty quickly. But there was like a class like that existed. And this is really interesting to me because anybody knows me, I am a huge proponent and advocate for education myself. Like it's probably the single most important thing that we can have today.
Proper education.
Proper education. Well, education. I mean, just it affects so many other parts of life. Like it just doesn't just affect the person receiving; it affects the people around these people. So,
and for generations, right?
So the more education we have, like it's better for everybody because everybody benefits from that.
True.
It's not just for the person receiving it; it's for everybody else around them.
Yeah.
So,
and
that would be an interesting thing. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
I was to say that'd be interesting, like the whole part of teaching how to like be sustainable. That'd be an interesting, like, I guess, course to create or to like put together because you'd have to have because even like my kids are exposed to some form of growing at some point. Like my daughter has been sent home a couple times with plants to grow.
Yeah, I think they're starting to do that now.
Yeah.
They actually have some gardens at the schools that they're working with. I don't know where exactly, but I know some places are, and that's towards the right way. And I think maybe just us doing it and then learning is the first step, and then we can kind of write down everything and keep track and have a basis of how to do this again and how to teach people, because in order to teach, you have to do it yourself first, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. That's kind of my goal in the next couple of years. I actually I don't know if you guys have been to Crestone, Colorado, but that place is freaking beautiful. I mean, it's amazing down there. There's sand dunes, hot springs. It's a nice little town. I really want to get some land there. There's an aquifer right under there in the San Luis Valley. Perfect for a well. But, I want to do my first tiny home prototype down there. And I want to start educating myself and because I'm obsessed. And when I say that I'm obsessed, I am on YouTube, looking up tiny home videos constantly, educating myself. So, but yeah, firsthand, getting your hands dirty, learning, passing it down to your kids so they could pass it down to their kids. I think that's another form of education. I mean, not necessarily in a classroom setting, but just teaching as a parent,
Right.
That's important as well.
Yeah, and having the correct knowledge as a parent, because I know, no offense to my parents, but they've told me wrong things before. And so now in the technology and in this day and age, it's so easy to get the right answer. So we need to make sure we're teaching the right thing. And back in the day, we had to grab an encyclopedia. So a lot of the times we just took our parents' word for it because, we look up to them and we respect them so much. And most of the time they give us the right information, but every now and then it might be just over their head or they just not paying attention to that type of thing. So it's always good to fact check even the people we love the most. And it's not to say, hey, I told you so. It's more of, hey, here's what that really was. And so that way we can grow and get better every time and they can be better than us. That's the goal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You want your kids to be smarter than you. I don't have children myself. And the way things are going right now, I don't know if I want them, I feel like that'd be a little, too much for me, because I'm already worried about so much and so is everyone else. But yeah, absolutely. I agree. I also definitely want to dive into, not just self-sustainability, but, self-awareness too.
Yeah.
That's important. You can't really have a sound environment around you if you're not sound yourself. So
Yeah.
Know thyself.
100%.
Yep.
Um,
That's a good thing to do.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't, it's kind of like, unintentionally it happens, but I see it and I'm like, you'd feel a lot better. And I think your day would go a lot better if you just took a breather. People forget to just breathe and eat healthy and take care of themselves. And they're around people all the time. At least for me, I mean, my week will be busy Monday through Saturday, but it's like Sunday, I turn my phone off, except for today, obviously, but I turn my phone off and,
it's Tuesday. What are you talking about?
oh, yeah, that's right.
I'm kidding.
Uh-huh.
uh,
Um,
Go ahead.
but yeah, it's just, I need that one day because I know if I don't do that, I know if I don't, give myself 24 hours to chill out, I am not a pleasant person, and I know that about myself. And a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's I feel like what you said earlier about going to Crestone is beautiful. Um, but if we all went to a place where it was already established as this community, then there would only be these small areas. But if we make where we're at now a Crestone, not saying you can do what you want to do in Denver, but we need to make our own Crestones everywhere. So, you've seen this influx of people move here over weed, which is awesome, but um, why not legalize weed where you're at?
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah, nothing against Crestone. I thought about this way back when we started Seven Healing Stars and we were talking about where we want to do it. And I said the same thing back then. I said, this is great and it's already established, but we need more of these everywhere. So just going to there is kind of like saying, well, I'm doing the right thing and I'm going to go here. And if you guys want to join me, come to here. But really, we need to make an example everywhere.
Right. Yeah. That's
So-
kind of why I'm here talking about it.
Totally.
Yep.
Totally.
I'm planting the first seed, so to speak.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, but Crestone is really amazing. And there's waterfalls there. And then you have the sand dunes. And yeah, I think everyone should go there at least once. They have a lot of alien type of stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just fun stuff. You can go visit. There's like a alligator farm, I think, on the way. And then you can go to Valley View Hot Springs and chill out in natural geothermic hot springs. So such a great trip. I've been there a couple times and always looking forward to going back.
Yeah, sounds nice.
Yeah, Andrew, there's like more sand than like the Lake Michigan sand dunes. It's insane. And
Yeah.
there's no ocean. So it's a mystery how it got there. I mean, it might have been ocean sand from a long, long time ago. But they said like it can go in trains and fit around the world, the sand.
Wow,
Huh.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So it's just a ton. Everyone has to check it out. It's not national monument, but what is it called? Like
I don't know, Brandon. What is it called?
well, one of those places that there's only 3 in Colorado. I forget the name of it. National Park.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Park. Okay, park.
Yeah, it's
That's a tough one to find.
yeah, you have the Rocky Mountain National Forest, and
Mhm.
then you have the Grand Mesa and Grand Junction, and then the sand dunes. So 3 in Colorado. Beautiful place.
Nice.
Yeah. So why is self-aware so important? Why is being self-aware so important,
Oh,
Jovana?
that's a
Hmm.
it's a plethora of reasons. Let's see. I mean, just how I just described. I think it's just so important to get just to be a functioning human being. I mean, fundamentally, you have to have some kind of, self discipline, self awareness. Um, Yeah, we were just we were just discussing how, I'll be disciplined for 4 weeks, like eating
Mm.
healthy, meditation, or speaking with my higher power, whatever that may be, and you know working out regularly. And then there's just that 1 week where I hit a wall and I'm just eating pizza and I'm just laying around and I'm not doing anything, But it's so
Yeah.
weird because when you become that self aware, when you hit that week and you do those bad things, well, I consider them bad because I'm crazy about my health. But um, I actually notice my mood swings completely change. If I eat like crap and I don't work out, I am not a pleasant person. I mean, it's just not a fun time. So I
Yeah.
have to make sure that, I think the reason why I'm so passionate about this topic is because I've had so many health problems myself, So I think when people have these issues themselves, they develop this passion around it because they want to help other people through it. I'm actually also a recovering addict. I've been sober for a year and 10 months now. And
Congratulations.
thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. So, but I'm hanging in there. And through that experience, I've developed this undying passion to just really discuss and talk about and help my community with that, not just drugs and alcohol, but hey, you're struggling with confidence or insecurities, here's these herbs, they'll help you, they'll help you sleep. Sleep is a huge part of feeling okay. If you don't
Mhm.
sleep good enough, you don't, you look in the mirror and you're like, look at this ugly mug.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that they actually think that they're ugly, and it's like, no, you got to sleep more than 4 hours a night. You'll feel a little better about yourself. But yeah,
Yeah.
just little things like that. It's little tweaks in your diet. Vitamins, sleep, your environment. I mean, the people you hang out with alone can completely ruin your mental state. You know.
Mhm.
So yeah, just stuff like that. That self awareness of your environment, your diet, your schedule. If my schedule isn't routined, I get thrown off. That's also, I'm kind of like, I feel kind of like when I got out of rehab, I felt like I left the military because it was just really, really routined in there. It was coming out of the situation that I was in when I was using drugs and alcohol, going there, it was like almost like a culture shock, because when you're in there, they're like, you got to wake up at 6 a.m. You're scheduled for 12 hours, and then you eat dinner, and then you finally have 3 hours off, and then lights out at 9 p.m. So it's like very routine. When I get thrown off of that, it throws me off. It's not a bad thing, but I think I don't think it's a bad thing for anybody. I think routine is extremely healthy for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. Totally agree. And finding a routine and a balance in life, whatever you do, is very important. And we were just talking about like lymph flow, just moving around is what moves lymph, and lymph is the toxins trying to get out of your body. But if it doesn't have a clear path, then it can't get out.
Hmm.
Yeah, I actually I didn't even know that until you told me.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
and it also doesn't have a pump like the heart pumps the blood. So if we don't move around and stay moving and busy, then it won't get out of there. So that's part of staying healthy, is getting that stuff out of there, so we can get rid of the toxins we're supposed to get rid of instead of just holding them in.
You can say the same about what's happening politically right now too. You got to keep it moving to get the toxins out.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It's interesting though about the routine because it just makes me think like I don't want to like like equate rehab and jail, but I wonder like sometimes like with the whole cycle of like incarceration, if that's part of it, like when these people are in jail, like they're just like they have this routine going, and when they get out, like suddenly they're faced with a world with no routine, but a routine that they might have to set up themselves and might not know how to. So a lot of times people kind of freak out with that level of freedom. So I feel like that if that's kind of related there, maybe because you get to that point and you're just like, what do I do with myself? Like, I don't have anybody telling me where to go, where to be. Like, I don't know like what to do. So, I mean, that's kind of interesting point to bring up about having a routine, because a lot of people probably already have one without really noticing it, but just not very, there's not a lot of discipline in the routine, I guess. It can kind of vary from day to day, but most of us who go to work a 9 to 5, whatever you do Monday through Friday, you kind of have that routine in place for you for most of the day, but then afterwards you kind of have to set your own sets. And depending on what you have going on in life, like you have, it's kind of already installed for you, but you still, I don't know, there's still some extracurriculars that can come up here and there that can throw off a day. Like even in the morning, like I know if I don't follow like a certain like order of operations when I get up and get ready for work, like my whole day is thrown all the way off. So
yeah, definitely. That also ties in with the reason. I feel like that's a really good point, Andrew. I feel like that the reason why is because those people that are incarcerated, when they do get out, when they were children, they weren't educated on self-awareness. So we're kind of going back to that, it's like, I feel like those people, when they're adults, have to be told, this is your routine. They have to be told to make their bed. They have to be told, you're going to eat at this time, because their parents, or, I don't know their situation, but I feel, in my opinion, that their parents didn't teach them that self-awareness. They didn't teach them that self-reliance, and that independence to make right decisions in life and to know, when to do those things. They didn't have an opportunity necessarily to take charge of their lives. Most inmates had horrible child upbringing.
Yeah.
Their parents were drug addicts, or they were adopted, and they never had that maternal and paternal connection. So they rebelled against the system because they were angry. So
right.
I think that their childhood robbed them of their ability to be self-aware, and it's really sad.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's
on the other side.
Sorry, Andrew. Go ahead.
I was going to say, on the other side of that is like the more affluent people you see who get into trouble, who just who never had that system put in place for them to know, or anybody, like their parents just they were around, they had everything that they needed, but except, actual guidance from an adult figure.
Yeah.
I kind of think
the family structure, like
yeah.
you can kind of grow up anywhere and have a healthy structure or an unhealthy structure. Like even in the ghetto, people can make healthy structures in the ghetto, and then there can be the opposite. So I just think
Right.
anywhere you go, you can be healthy or not healthy, and kind of talk things out and communicate. And the way I grew up, we didn't really communicate. We're a bunch of brothers. We basically fought to communicate. So,
Yeah.
and then we would be cool after that. And that's not healthy, but that's what I learned. So I need to unlearn that now. And I'm doing that now.
Yeah. And it just goes back to like that kind of structure though. Like, do you have structure? Do you have someone instilling these values in you as you go through life? There's someone has to be teaching you, like these things are like learned. And a lot of it is like Jovana said, is it's the people you hang out with, your friends, your social circle. That can, even, it doesn't matter like how much your parents can try, if you hang out with the wrong people, like that's going to influence you almost even more. So like it's a lot about who, like the company you keep, and then how they're making their decisions and the influence, everybody has on one another. So if there's like, obviously though, we've all heard the expression one bad apple, it was the one bad apple spoils a bunch, right?
Yeah.
So that's all it really takes.
Yeah, it could, but you could also be a leader in your group and kind of set an example.
That's what
So
I'm saying. Like if there's one person who's not like doing the good stuff, like people kind of might coalesce around there. But if there's someone who is setting that example of, making good decisions, then yeah, for sure. But sometimes it's not that way.
well, maybe yeah, you're right. I think the lesson here is be the example.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah, that's where that self-awareness comes in. Because
Yeah.
you have to decide, you gotta go, oh, that person is not good for. Man,
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many friends I've had in my lifetime. Hey, I've been there, but ever since I got sober, this was I was talking to my partner about this actually this morning, and he has been sober with me for the same time as well. So I mentioned, I was like, man, ever since, after like 6 months after rehab, I really noticed who was good for me and who wasn't. I really established, like, with a sober head, with a sober mind, that, wow, these people are not good for me. I mean,
Yeah.
all they do is call me to get messed up. All they
Mm.
do is call me because they want something from me,
Mhm.
or they want to do something stupid, like that's not conducive to my future, or to humanity, or to my mental health, to their mental health. It's just, so I think that it's so versatile. It's like you can apply that self-awareness to literally everything in your life.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean those people are worse than you or any less. It just means that you're on a different path and you kind of hit a T and you went one way and they went another, and you might link up again, but you just know what's good for you. And I applaud you for that and respect that, because I've definitely been without any drugs for a few years, and that was one of the biggest times I've grown. And like you said, you find out who you really can trust, who what these people are in your life. And some people are the people you get messed up with and just forget about everything, and some people are the people you build things with and you create. And I like to be around the creation side and moving forward, and not just like stuck in this days of what's the next drug, or should we keep what drug should we do this week. And it's, even if it's like psychedelics, something that I believe in, you shouldn't just do it every day, and make it a ceremony. If you do, try to respect it a little more instead of just saying let's get fucked up. That's not the way I like to do things anymore. I like to be focused and really have a goal, not necessarily like write it out and has to follow that exact path, but just uh, be more thoughtful and mindful when you're doing these type of things, and you can get much more out of it.
Well, couldn't you could use, I mean, you could almost use psychedelics as a tool though for helping people with self-awareness. I mean, I know it's done wonders for me when I was much younger. I haven't done any of that for a very long time, but I still can recall those times I have done them, and it was almost a revelation, just because it rewires your brain and how it operates at that point, and then kind of going forward. So I mean, if there are people who are unable to come by this self-awareness naturally, not naturally, but unaided, then maybe those could be aids to help them achieve some form of next level thinking or higher thinking. Just a
Yeah.
boost, like kind of like a boost.
Yeah. I just think if you try it for the first time or when you're doing it, just be mindful and have like
Right.
a little ceremony, even if
Have
it's
a purpose
like,
behind it.
what?
have like a purpose behind it. Don't just do it like, yeah, don't just do it just to get messed up. Have a purpose, have a goal.
Yeah.
Do it with
Yeah.
reason.
And most people get stuck in this, like, I want to get fucked up so I can forget things and just have a wild night. And that's cool. Right. And we meet people and do certain things when we do that. But it usually isn't the lasting relationships that I get from just being sober and finding those like people. And that's what I learned from being sober for years. It really changed my life. And I wasn't doing that bad of stuff, as I know you weren't either, Joe, but just having a clear mind is more powerful than a lot of people think. And
Yeah,
even marijuana, you know?
absolutely. Hey, I've used psychedelics to expand my mind. You know, I was, yeah, last time was years ago as well. I don't know. I mean, I started doing them at a very young age. I think I was 16. And then 10 years after that. But within that time, I'm not going to lie. I sometimes abused it. I was young and naive and didn't know what I was doing. But then as I grew older, I would do it in ceremony and I would do it in a sacred manner. Um, but they definitely did help me to be self aware. They definitely did teach me a lot about myself and about my thoughts for sure. And I think that they can be used as a tool if used properly.
Right.
Yeah, they say it's like, I don't know, 10 years of therapy in one session of psychedelics.
Yep.
That's very powerful. I mean, how much does 10 years of therapy cost? If you can just go on a
eighth of shrooms, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you just go on an exploration of your mind, and you're digging deep into these issues that you're going to therapy in the first place. I'm not saying don't go to therapy, but sure, it's another form of therapy, 100%.
Well, one of the main reasons why I got sober was because I started abusing it, and I caught myself. I mean, even in the throes of my addiction, I went, you know what? This isn't who you are, and you know that you value these tools more, and you need help. And that's exactly what I told myself. Because I felt like I was betraying my being. It was like this really deep, thing with me. So that's one of the main reasons why I stopped. And, I don't, I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of people can go their whole life not even doing them, and that's fine too. And they're highly functional, highly intelligent people, and that's just great. Me, on the other hand, I have a very creative mind. And because of that, most addicts do. Going to the rehab I went to, I mean, I met some of the most brilliant, most intelligent people I've ever met in my entire life. Prodigies when it comes to music and all kinds of faces and voices. So, but it really just depends on the person. A lot of people can just never do it, but to me, uh, it's one of those things where it's so sacred. I mean, we have to also educate about how sacred these tools are. Instead of making them into party drugs, which is what they're becoming. We need to implement some sort of, like Brandon says, ceremony, some sort of guidance into how it should be. Intention, exactly.
Yeah, and what you said about addicts like being very smart, I definitely have noticed that in my life. Just I think addicts are very resourceful. Like, take a alcoholic, they know how to get their alcohol. They still work, they pay for it, they do all these things, but everything is for that addiction. And if you can flip that and make your life about your everything for you and bettering yourself instead of this thing you have to do, if you make loving yourself your addiction, things change drastically, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things. It's very controversial. Some people say it's hereditary. Some say, it's your environment. In my case, I believe it's hereditary. My aunt was an alcoholic, so was my uncle on my mother's side. So I think that I got that gene. But
Mhm.
then there's the other case where, addicts like to play victim. So I have to be self-aware, and I have to step back and go, you know what? No, I chose to drink that drink. I chose to do that drug. So that's another responsibility. I guess we could tie this in with the self-awareness. You choose to wake up and be happy. That's not given to you. You choose to do that drug or not do that drug, right? You choose to eat that pizza or not eat that pizza, in my case.
Yeah.
So that also ties in with it as well.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah,
Lots of choice.
it's always choice, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes we choose the bad thing just because it makes us happy for a little bit, and that's not the most horrible thing. To make yourself happy for a little bit. Sometimes we need that. So, uh, don't be afraid to still have pleasure in life. But my pleasure isn't a bunch of drugs anymore. It was at one time, and it served its purpose. And now I like to be in have intention when I do things, and it's a better path, I believe. And I run into people that are more lifelong friends than just someone you get messed up with, and that's always great. Right, Andrew?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Even, I mean, yeah. So I was thinking about stuff, growing up. So,
Yeah.
and stuff we experienced together. So it's kind of funny because I mean, you could make that friend first, and I don't know, it's probably more of like a passage of right as a kid growing up and the situations that we were in. I mean, I'm not gonna go into your whole family, upbringing, but I'm a child of divorce, so I never kind of had that whole structure available to me, and we were not really a family that expressed ourselves or feelings. It kind of I'm sure this isn't the case, but like I don't like a lot of my growing up. I kind of remember it, a lot of it just like on my own, and not really a whole lot of instruction from any of the adults around me. Not that I can remember, nothing significant anyway. Enough for me to remember a lot of stuff.
Besides your mom, she was very powerful in your life.
Right. I mean, she was an awesome presence in my life, but I'm
Yeah.
in terms of like direct, um, like advice and just
Okay.
guidance like that. I feel like a lot of it was just me exploring on my own and kind of coming to terms by like on my own. It's not to say that I didn't have stability. I definitely had plenty of stability. That was never the issue. It was just the whole two parent thing is a real thing. Like just having that balance and having the support. So that kind of stuff, even something as I guess minute as that can cause people to want to act out and explore those kind of avenues with just drugs and whatever, and trying to a lot of it is people trying to escape their reality, because the reality sucks. Like the life that they live, there's stuff they can't cope with, because a lot of it is just not having the support system too. So that's why a lot of, as from my experience, and well, my wife has like is her one of her specialties. She has a degree in human health services, that kind of field, and she's like with a focus on addictions. So I've learned plenty about that in the last 10 years we've been together. So, and a lot of that is pretty eye opening, what comes from it and how much is still yet to be understood, and how much of it like society just doesn't understand as a whole. Like they don't understand that it's a disease. They don't understand that is a lot of it is trauma based. Like these people grow up, experiencing some form or another of trauma. It's because my wife's sister dealt with the same stuff. She was an addict. She has been sober for I think about a long, probably over a year or so, and she was pretty far gone too. Like and there's plenty of stories I'm not going to share with right now because
Right.
it's not really obviously not my place to share.
Right.
But just I was a part of it. I went through it with my wife, and it was not a good time period. It was a lot of darkness, and I've met other people who have dealt with addictions too, and it's like, but they're on the rebound now, and it's an amazing thing to see people recovering and like succeeding in their recovery because they got the attention that they need, and at some point they did achieve that self-awareness finally. Sometimes it takes major shocks to the system,
Yeah.
major upheavals like jail or rehab or some kind of some kind of secondary trauma that shakes them like, oh my god, what have I been doing?
Yeah.
So,
Wake up call. And
yeah,
it doesn't even, it's not always affecting only you, but it's a lot of affecting your family and friends around you that people don't even realize that part of it. So that brings a good point. Like you were deeply affected by someone else's addiction,
mm-hmm.
and most people that are addicted, they're like, "Well, it only is affecting me, so why do you worry?" And
It personally affected me because
yeah,
like I'm not like angry about it anymore, but I mean it's definitely have been had stuff stolen from me
oh
to
man,
feed the addiction. Like it's like,
that's
and I,
when it's too.
yeah,
That's
like
when you have to draw the line.
my own stuff. Like, yeah, I mean that's because that's like I don't hold a grudge for that anymore. Like
Yeah,
obviously it pissed me off at the time because
of course.
fucking steal from me. Don't do that.
No, man,
But like
no.
you understand, but then like afterwards, like you understand, we can't fully understand, but you you can sympathize with their situation and what their mindset was. Like they didn't do it because they're an asshole. They did it because they needed drugs. Like it's not them. It's not their fault. Like I don't blame her for it because I understand where she was at when it happened. So like that's just how it can affect people. And a lot of times the people who are doing that they don't see beyond that because they don't see how
Yeah,
it's affecting other people. They just worry. They're kind of, you know, it's a selfish state of being they're in because they have one focus and that's to get high.
hmm,
So it kind of, it's kind of, and if I'm off here at any point, someone let me know, but they kind of just, they have that drive and it doesn't matter what else happens as long as they achieve that goal. Like people just get caught up in that wake along, you can go along for the ride. And it's, yes, and then at some point they get that self-awareness, and a lot of times that's a hard thing to deal with too, because you have to look back on everything that you did, knowing you hurt these people and like what you were doing. So it's, that's a tough thing to confront, I think, for a lot of people. And that was one thing I expressed a lot to people too, is like, dude, you have to like sit with yourself. You have to think about your thoughts. Like you have to stop. And I think we said before, just today, just like you have to take that breath and like, what am I doing? Like what is going on? Deal with your feelings, that kind of stuff. Like you have to deal
yeah.
with it. If you keep running away from yourself, you're never gonna get to where you need to be.
Well,
You got to catch up.
you're so right, but I think it's a lot to do. Like when you have a drug problem, you don't think you're going to make it out, so you don't care about anything other than now,
Right.
because you don't expect to live past 40 or 30 or whatever you're at. You're just like, okay, well, you don't think you're going to have to right those wrongs, and then eventually you wake up one day and you're like, what did I do? And then you slowly have to build your respect back.
Yep.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you Have to learn the hard way. Definitely, I've been through there. I think it's like, and you know, I don't want to sound sexist. I don't think I'm going to, but I think it's like way worse when it's a girl. In my opinion, like I'm really old school, and like when you see a woman all messed up all the time versus a guy, it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, boys will be boys, but like when
Yeah.
a girl does it, it's like, oh man. So like I started feeling ashamed because of that, because I didn't want to be that girl.
Because people expect it from a man, but a woman has to be well put together and always have her makeup and so they can't be slipping.
Yeah.
I get it.
But tying into what Andrew mentioned, where, and I really appreciate your kindness about the topic. That was very well put, how you said, you're not holding a grudge because it wasn't them, it was the disease. Yeah, I agree. And I was taught all about it, but I'm cutthroat. It's your fault. You put yourself in that situation. Yeah, it's a disease.
Sure.
Absolutely. I believe that. But I don't know, man. I grew up, if you do something, you take full accountability for it, and I've been there where I've woken up and been like, oh man, what did I do last night? And me saying this is very, very private to me, but I want to have full transparency with you guys. So with that said, it's like, yeah, I've been there, but I had to look at myself in the mirror and go, you know what? You're going to fix this because you put yourself in the situation. You build that self-awareness by taking that first step to feeling that shame. I think that that's super important. You're going to feel it anyway. Life is full of it. You know what I mean? It's like, you have to just go, okay, I'm going to call that person and I'm going to apologize. And you have to go, I'm going to email them and apologize and try to make amends. And if they don't respond, they don't have to, and I shouldn't expect them to, because I really hurt them, So I did have to do that. I had to sit there and email people and try to make amends. And I had to text and call and leave voicemails. And I mean, it was grueling, I'm not going to lie to you, but it made me feel so much better. I felt 100 times better. I mean, the weight off my shoulders to just take that accountability, to take that first step towards self-awareness was unmatched, completely unmatched.
All right, gonna butt in a little bit here in the middle-ish place here and bring you another round of music. This week we got our friends Elephants in Mud, but this time Stairwell.
Yeah, it's a Stairwell off the album Stairwell. So it's a very fun song and hope you all enjoy.
Yep, and if you do like it, be sure to check them out. They are on available streaming services, most notably Spotify. So just go on there and check them out if you like their music. They have a few other records or albums on there. Again, it's a band called Elephants in Mud, and the song is Stairwell. Enjoy. right. And I don't want to like, I don't, saying that, you know, it's not her fault. It wasn't her doing that. I'm just, it doesn't like, you know, exonerate anybody from culpability, but it just like, it doesn't, there's no, you know, this doesn't help anybody to progress by being mad at them for that kind of stuff.
Right.
That
I think
not in their right mind.
you're saying like you forgave her.
Right. It's,
You understand it's bad,
right.
but there's no sense of holding on to it.
She still did it. It's still, you know, it's their fault. You know, it's not a great decision, but it doesn't, you know, require me to be mad at them forever.
Well, as an addict, we appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your forgiveness.
Yeah. That's,
I have
yeah.
people like you in my life, and I'm very grateful for you guys. So thank you.
Yep. That's also, I think being, and I'm not trying to like, you know, pat myself in the back either. I hate doing that, but I think that's also another aspect of being self-aware is understanding not just yourself, but the people around you and their situations too.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's always something I've been kind of an advocate for, at least just for my, like internally, like I have, you know, felt this way for almost as long as I could remember, just being constantly aware of who I am and existence and stuff like that. So this is kind of a fun subject for me in that way. I just, something
good.
comes naturally, I guess, to me. It just, I can't escape it.
Yeah, totally. I live with my partner, and he's an addict too. And number one rule: don't be in a relationship in the first year, right? So we did it because, you know, we're both stubborn, and we met by chance. But what happened was we had a hard time. I mean, it was like, you know, he would be in a bad mood because of his trauma and his triggers and his addiction, and then I'd take it personal, and then vice versa. And then it was just, we just now, like, during quarantine, we finally looked at each other and went, you know what? We forget that we're like healing. We literally forget. And I will forget that what he's going through has nothing to do with me. And I need to be aware enough, you know, like you just said, to go, you know, I'm self-aware enough to understand that, you know, what they're doing has nothing to do with me. Right. So that forgiveness comes easy because it's like, hey, it's not a personal attack. It's just, they need that right now, you know?
Exactly.
So I'm super grateful that I became aware of that. I actually, you know, and you learn constantly. I mean, it's not like, you know, self-awareness isn't just overnight, nor is it all at once. I mean, throughout your whole life, you know, I learn every day something about myself, you know, or try to at least.
Right.
But I just recently told myself, hey, you don't need to make everything about you. You know, if there's someone's angry around you, it's probably not about you. So stop being so weird.
Right.
So that's a really good point. That's actually my current lesson.
Yeah, and sometimes you're attracting things, so you have to really be aware of your energy you're putting out, and how you approach things and how you talk to people. The tone is very important. Sometimes we don't even know that we're being kind of talking in an irritable way, or and we just have to check ourselves and realize how we sound to other people. And it's a process, and we get better, and we start healing every day. And as we catch ourselves, we notice that, like, we don't want to say that again, so we reword it, and that's healing. Just by catching yourself going down that same rabbit hole that you don't want to go down. So you just learn ways and find ways to catch yourself faster and faster, so that way we can stop dwelling and just figure out how to embrace and get better and get through this.
Yeah, tone is huge, man. I have a hard time with that sometimes. My upbringing was very much Eastern European, you know, like Serbian parents, and
Yeah.
the way my parents literally talk yelling. You know what I mean? It's like my friends thought that they were fighting all the time, but that's just how they talked. So
Yeah.
it's like it's oh man, I've learned a lot from my partner now. I mention him a lot, but I live with him. He's a big influence on me. um he really makes me aware of when I'm condescending. I can be super condescending and I don't
Me too.
even know. I mean, it's not intentional. He's like, hey, whoa, I know how to do this. You don't have to talk down to me. And I just, I'll explain things just because I love him, not because I'm trying to be mean. I want to help him, so I show my love by instruction or, my opinions. But I'm that's a current lesson as well.
Yeah. And maybe it's a lesson for them to learn how you express your love. It's a
Yeah.
two-way street. So yeah, you can get better and you can realize, but it can't all be pinned on you because that's who you are. And that's what I've been battling with myself is I need to embrace who I am and not just be who someone else is, but I definitely don't want to be hurting someone in the process. But there's a fine balance between being yourself and embracing your uniqueness and just pleasing the other person that maybe the way you do things or this or that. Like I said, it's a two-way street. You have to be accepting of those things, and sometimes they don't want to butter it that way, or sometimes they do it their way. They like it on the left instead of the right. So it's part of getting used to people's uniqueness.
Well, I actually, that reminds me, I read a thing, I forgot where, but I'm going to try to reiterate it here. Instead of compromising with your partner or your sister or brother or, family or friends, you have to collaborate. So compromise includes sacrifice, right? When you think about compromise, you have to sacrifice something you do to make someone happy. Collaboration with someone kind of encourages to work together instead of sacrificing. So maybe you're happy but your partner has to sacrifice something for you to be happy, and then next time it's like you feel obligated to sacrifice, so it's like this like vicious circle, and it gets you nowhere, and both parties are not aware of how the other feels, so that awareness doesn't exist. That self-awareness with each individual is void. So what I'm trying to say is the collaboration omits the sacrifice, and you can kind of just sit with one another and go, hey, let's collaborate on this idea. I know we have different views, but let's like mesh it together. Let's see how we can not sacrifice anything and make it our project together. So
Yeah.
that was a really cool thing.
Hmm. It's there's tools and different ways to for us all to get along. And when I look at it from all the perspectives that I like to look at things from, uh, it just usually comes back to me and the lessons I need to learn and how they're teaching me. Um, I think every partner and every person in my life, every relationship, teaches me something new about myself, and uh, yeah, that's really fun to embrace you. And uh, if the other person can compromise, it makes the world a difference.
Yep. You know what another term for that is?
What?
Convergence.
Ah,
Oh,
dropped it there.
Two things converge.
All
They
right, drop
one
the mic.
episode over.
Yeah, well, we have more to ask Jovana, but we're getting there for sure. We're starting
I
to
can
turn
grab my
into
mic, I would, but I don't want to break it, so I won't.
we're turning into marshmallow watermelons over here. We gotta get more coffee,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
another substance.
that's good though. I mean,
You-
collaboration for sure
Did you
is
ever
key.
hear why they made coffee?
No.
It's to make the workers more productive.
Oh, okay. I think I might have heard that actually. I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't live in the coffee world, so I forget these things.
Well, that might be not why they made it, but that's why they popularized it, was what I
Right.
heard.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure they made it because it was good and it did its thing. Uh, or it grew and they figured it out.
Right.
But
I'm so glad they did.
yeah, it's helpful. Um, yeah, I think with the self awareness, we can kind of, when you're talking about psychedelics and going into the drug world and hanging out in all that crowd, um, you can kind of get caught in that spiritual mystic environment and forget about the physical as well. And I feel like we need to balance those two. And when you're young, you kind of get so excited about the spiritual fact that then you end up with a drug problem at the end of it because it's so fun. And you meet the most fun people and exciting, but then you kind of go down a tunnel and you realize that maybe you're all alone here. And so that's when you realize maybe I should get off of this stuff and just kind of clear my head. And um, so I believe, it's cool to get in that scene and it's really fun. But I believe a lot of people in that scene kind of have a wake up call one day or another. And hopefully it's sooner than later. Hopefully they can be more intentful about using those substances and keep it as a balance and not get overwhelmed.
Right.
That's what I wish, because
What?
no one told me that. They just said psychedelics were cool, and they are
Right.
to me. And it definitely helps you learn more about yourself. But there's a balance to everything. And
In moderation.
yeah,
Yep.
everything in
Moderation is key.
And
Yep.
from
Because that takes a massive toll on your body doing that stuff for extended periods of time and constantly, like just the physical toll alone, not to mention the mental and spiritual toll it takes on you, is just for some people it's too much.
yeah, and for most people, they just don't know it until it's too late.
Right.
It looks like they're all in control and they have everything figured out, but it's
Yep.
really they're like the functional alcoholic.
I don't know. When you look at someone that's in active addiction from outside the box, it's not a pretty picture. They think that, they have this illusion that they're fine and that they look fine. The physicality, my God, it's night and day what I looked like 2 years ago compared to right now. I mean, my skin alone, I was gray, literally. I have color now. So
Yeah, it's a world of difference. And I'm curious on your perspective, Joe, is like what advice, I told my advice on the spiritual and physical. What has helped you balance those things? And did you look at it that way when you were younger, when you were doing all these things, or was it a wake up call for you as well?
oh, honestly, uh when I was younger, I the physical was more at the beginning because I was very hands on. So as a little girl, I was in all kinds of clubs and I was very athletic and I was very competitive. I've always been extremely competitive. Um, so I was very hands on. I was very physical. I liked things and I collected things, and I wasn't materialistic, but I was, I just liked my stuff. But then when I discovered psychedelics, that's when I started going into the spiritual, um, and kind of caring less and less, which I was grateful for at the time because the minimalist lifestyle is kind of my goal. I think that you can attain serious happiness with that. Besides the point, what I'm trying to get at is now I try to converge the two. So I try to
Nice.
every day I wake up and I balance the physical with the spiritual. Like, I'll pour a glass of water and bless it to myself. I don't do it out loud. I'll before I eat my food, I'll bless it in my head. Um, when I light a candle, I bless it. I say, oh, can bring me protection, and then I light it. These are just little things that I do for myself. I don't force these ideals upon anybody. These are things that help me be the most self-aware and the most sovereign for myself to myself, so I can be an ideal person to my partner, to my friends, to my family. That's just kind of what helps me. So that balance um, of doing those everyday little things, it really helped me.
Yeah.
Good.
And I do feel like when we when we just do the drugs and the psychedelics all the time, we get stuck in that spiritual realm and we forget about like all the stuff we have to do on the normal
Yeah.
side of things. So
Yeah,
it,
totally.
which is fun for a while, but then we forget about our loved ones and things like that. So, even these beautiful drugs can cause effects on people around us. And so that's the message I'm basically trying to get across is, take a step back and ground yourself and get back into your physical for a while, because the first three chakras are basically your physical, and then the middle is your bridge, which is your solar plexus, and then you go up into your higher three chakras. So um, when you're on high on acid like a motherfucker, you know, you're stuck in that crown chakra, that physical, and we tend to not ground ourselves, so we're airy fairy and we forget a lot of things, and that is the negatives of those type of drugs.
Yeah, constantly being in your
Constantly.
head is not good.
Yeah.
It can be extremely, it's also very dangerous, specifically with alcohol. A lot, most alcoholics I know have a lot of spiritual darkness.
Mm.
And
Well,
this is just my what I've experienced. Maybe I'm
well,
wrong,
no, that's why they call them spirits, right?
Right, right. So there's a lot of heaviness that goes around alcohol, and other drugs too. But I feel like it's so crucial to balance that physical, like you said. You have to ground yourself. You have to almost remember that you have a body,
Yeah.
because it's
Mm.
when you live in your head, when you live outside of your body for that long, you can do a lot of damage to yourself. Absolutely. When I finally came into my body after my active addiction, I had a lot of problems. I mean, it was a myriad of problems. It was like I had like high anxiety, I had like a heart murmur, I had like my
Pain.
back was out of shape, pain, nightmares, night terrors, psychosis. The psychosis that comes with it is that alone, I wouldn't wish that on my enemy. I mean, psychosis is terrifying when you're withdrawing from that stuff. Um, but super grateful to be over that finally. It takes time, but I had to. The hardest part is coming back into the physical after something like that,
Mm.
because you see the damage you did.
Yeah, you don't even feel it sometimes
No,
until then.
Right.
And
And it's like somebody
it's
else
like,
did that. He was like, who did this to me? He was like, I
right,
yeah,
am.
exactly.
yeah. It's that evil one on the shoulder. Even though
Yeah.
it's making you realize a lot of things about yourself, it's you remember that when you go back to the physical, and that's how you balance it. Is, oh yeah, that was beautiful, so I want to take a piece of that along with my roots that are grounding into the ground and blend those two, and that's what creates that strong person, in my opinion. And yeah, it's just all about self-awareness, as we were talking before, and um, you got to be aware of being aware.
Takes time. It's like
Yeah.
a practice. It's like a muscle, you know?
Yeah.
Something that's got to be guided too. I mean, you don't just wake up and I'm self-aware now. Like it takes time. Yeah, it takes time. And a lot of times you can't just do it by yourself. So you got to actually make. It's kind of a catch-22, I guess. You got to make that conscious decision. Like, I got to get more self-aware. But you have to be aware enough to say that. So it's kind of what is it's like that. But it can get messy. But
Full circle.
Yeah, it's just it's a good thing though to achieve and to chase and to go after, because I think everybody needs it in their life. I think it would help a lot with the issues we have going on today if just people would step back and just think about who they are and what they're doing and how it affects other people. I think, and I'm always going to come back to that because that's one of the things I think about a lot is how my actions affect other people and what I do, how that affects other people, because it's not just about yourself. So a lot of people need to be aware of that too.
But also don't be afraid to be selfish, but don't call it selfish, call it self-full.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, take care of yourself, and usually when you're taking care of yourself, it translates to the people around you.
Right. In a positive way.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's the biggest. Yeah, I mean, I really like what you said about the self-full. I really, really like that. That ties in with that sovereignty that I like to advocate for, because it's like, like being selfish is doing things that hurt other people and you don't care, right?
Yes.
Or you're taking and you don't give back, right? Being sovereign is stepping into your power and not hurting anyone, and just going, hey, I'm going to do this because I love myself. And trust me, you want me to, because I'll be more pleasant when we hang out,
Yes.
So that sovereignty is really stepping into your power. I always relate it to a mirror. So if I can go into the bathroom and look at myself in the eyeball for 10 seconds straight, I'm good with myself, right?
Yeah.
When you're doing wrong in your life, you can't do that. It's hard to look at yourself. It's so weird.
So true.
So that sovereignty is really just being like, you know what? I love you, I believe in you, and I honor you. If I don't honor me, no one else will, and they won't take me seriously, or they won't be themselves around me. You know how difficult it is for me to be myself around someone that's like insecure? It's weird.
Yeah, I've seen it on both feet because I was the insecure one for a long, long time, and still am a little bit. But I think we all are. But people like happy people. People like to be around happy people, and so I had to learn that the hard way because I was the grumpy one for a long time.
We all were at one point.
Yeah, I do smile a lot though, so that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always try to be a happy person around other people anyway, and save my other stuff like when I'm by myself. But because it's better for everybody, and then you can kind of feed off other people who are that way too. So always better. I like that.
Wow, I think it's marshmallow s'more time. Well,
you're gonna have to explain that to people, man. What are you talking about?
Should I
elaborate?
even ask?
No, I want to ask because I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, marshmallow. We we're going so long, we kind of start cooking and we become a marshmallow, and then after you cook for a while, it becomes a s'more. So it starts to melt and ooze along the sides. But yeah, I think we touched on a lot of deep stuff, and whenever you're talking about addiction, it's never easy, and I commend you for that, Jovana.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if it's too sensitive. Do you mind if I ask what it was? Is that too much?
Oh, no. Yeah, no, I'm not ashamed. I'm past the shame finally after a year and 10 months. Yeah, no, it was ketamine.
Okay.
Ketamine was my drug of choice. It was my DOC. So
Ooh.
that's really that was my biggest one. But I dabbled in a plethora of them. I was a cross addict, so I mean, it was more than that.
So
Right.
when you're talking about
That's
ketamine, you really know about the spirituality and being in your head.
Yes,
Right?
I do.
Yeah.
I have. I don't know how I'm going to say this in a proper way, but I'm gonna. I mean, I guess I don't have to, but
yeah.
I've been in different dimensions. Definitely. I can't. The best way that I can explain it is: have you guys seen the movie Daredevil
Mhm.
Yeah. I
with Ben
believe so.
Affleck? That
The
cheesy
Ben
movie.
Affleck one,
Yes.
yeah, that piece of shit, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a good,
Yes.
yeah, but yeah, I've seen it.
Do you remember his vision?
Yeah,
Like it's like outlined in white and he doesn't see normally. He like
right,
sees
like
that weird
echolocation.
filter.
Yeah.
I've had experiences on ketamine where so I did it. That was okay, this is the thing. That was I did it very ceremonially. I didn't do it like party, right? I did it I was like in my room. I would do a little tiny bit, you know, um and then I have this thing, it's awesome. So I participated in a workshop. I don't know if you guys know, I'm kind of going off topic, but it ties in, I promise. His name is Drunvalo Melchizedek. Do you guys know who that is?
I've heard the last name before, but I
Okay.
can't recall.
So he's supposed to be some kind of messenger, right? So he supposedly channels Thoth and he channels all these ascended masters. So I went to one of his workshops and he actually teaches you how to set your Merkaba, your energy field.
Mhm.
And it's this whole love and light workshop. It's called Awakening the Illuminated Heart. And I did this in 2015. I'm kind of diving deep here. Bear with me.
Go for it.
But I took it in 2015. And, we learned a lot about our energy field, about crystals, about, the geometry, the blueprint of the universe, right? So anyway, I was reading his book at the time, and it's the Flower of Life, Volume 1. If you guys want to check it out, really good read. He has Volume 2 and 3 as well. But the first one, I was reading it at the time, and I was doing the ketamine ceremonially, right? So there was this thing called the mind fold that you get during the workshop, and it completely blocks all photons of light, like completely. You have to tighten it on your head. So I would put that on. I would do a little bit of ketamine, put that on. I would have a crystal on my chest with music. And then, I mean, I've never done DMT, but how people describe DMT is how this was. But it was in the vision of Ben Affleck in Daredevil. So that's my full circle. It was an experience, and I kind of like, it was insane. So I went into this room that was my room, but on a different plane. So I could actually, this sounds wild, but I swear to God, I could actually stand up in the room and walk around with the blindfold on just fine without bumping into anything, because I could see it in a different way. It was a different wavelength. It was a different sense,
Well, yeah, I mean, sight is all, I mean, it's all, I mean, the way we see anyway is based on the brain and how the brain interprets it. So if your brain is
Right.
working on a different level, then yeah, I can definitely see that. So
yeah, it was intense. So the attraction to it was that. It wasn't me like, oh, party, I'm going to do this and feel this body high. I was attracted to that drug because of the experiences visually and spiritually that I was having.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I could see that. And, I've known other people that do a lot of K. To me, it's not that, like, I have had a very spiritual experience on it and it was powerful, but to do it all the time, it's just kind of chasing that element.
Yeah,
Chasing
absolutely.
that
It's never
dragon.
good. It's also, a lot of people don't know this, but it's an antihistamine.
Hmm.
So it actually increases your heart rate, even though you
Um,
feel like it doesn't.
Mm.
So when people go, "Oh, I'm just, going to do this and go to sleep." No, it keeps you up all night. It's like cocaine. So when you do it, you actually increase your heart rate, and then as you're coming down, it decreases. Then you increase, decrease, increase, decrease throughout the night. Really bad for your heart. Really bad, and it
yeah.
dehydrates your organs and dehydrates your gallbladder really bad. I mean, it's so bad for you.
Mm.
So that's mainly why I was in such bad shape after rehab.
Yeah, I don't. Uh,
Dang.
Moderation is key, like we said.
Yeah.
There may be a place for it, and they're starting to do trials and legal things out there. So there are those too. So there's obviously a benefit for it somehow.
Yes, it supposedly helps with depression. They have ketamine hospitals now, where
Hmm.
they, in moderation, on a gurney, you're on an IV, and they do a certain milliliter a day amount, and it's supposed to be really good for pain management and depression, supposedly, which I definitely believe for sure.
Okay.
I just can't ever do it again
Hmm. Right.
because of my reasons. But yeah, I mean, with everything, there's a light and a dark with everything, including drugs. A lot of my clean friends, my sober friends that I know, beg to differ. They're all bad. They're all bad. I get
Right.
it. I get it. But I'm aware enough to know, hey, you know, I can't do that because I'm an addict, but I see the benefit. I see the light in some of them.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. It's there's. I think if you just take the lessons from the drugs, you really don't have to do them anymore. But the spiritual and mystic experiences are really fun to kind of chase. So I can see it. I understand where they're coming from, but make sure like with ketamine, you kind of go into a cuddle puddle if you're buying one. But so you can't really write as you're doing it, but maybe afterwards, maybe write in a journal.
Yeah.
So take something back with you, bring something back, and then meditate on that if you are doing it, and maybe it will tell you things that you don't really expect.
Yeah, definitely. I was really solo dolo when I was
Ah,
doing mine.
yeah,
I did not want to hang out with people.
yeah.
I was just, ever since I was a little girl, I've been a weirdo. I really loved being by myself, reading my books, nerding out. So when I was in active addiction, I actually never was around people, which was really bad because it's getting bad when you isolate, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
but when I would go out, it would be like, I would have a couple drinks, but I would never do my secret, in public because I was ashamed. It was shameful. There was that shame there. Um, it was weird. It was like a vicious cycle. I was aware that I was ashamed, but I didn't do anything about it.
Hmm.
I just kept going back. But yeah, that kind of ties back in with that balance of the physical and the spiritual. I started going more toward the physical and seeing the light. Actually, before I went into rehab, I was clean and sober for 3 months, and most people in my rehab weren't.
And they're like, "Why are you here?"
Right.
Yeah.
Because they're like, "Oh, you got this. Like, why are you even here?" Right. So, but before, because the reason why I went was because I was like, no, no, no. I know I'm going to go back out there. I need this to be the definitive change. Right. So, but within that 3 months, I started slowly balancing that physical and going, hey, you look like crap. You
Hmm.
might want to put yourself together here, and get your finances in order and get your apartment in order and figure out, your car situation because that thing constantly had problems. So all those things tied in. It's like I started seeing the light. I started like, finding that balance. Those scales were weighing out finally.
And becoming aware of who you were at the time.
Yeah.
Like you might have thought you were aware, but you in those 3 months, those are some wild times coming off of anything. Those 3 months are crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. That's also another reason why, excuse me, I got into herbalism.
Mm.
I got into them about 5 years ago, but I instilled that medicine that I'm so passionate about, and not just herbalism alone, but like I'm into like really like old school folklore medicine,
Hmm.
where it's like you like, um, instead of cough syrup, you do milk with honey, which a lot of people don't know about, but it works.
Ooh,
It's really interesting.
that's a good one.
Yeah, warm milk with honey actually stops coughing
I can't do milk though.
temporarily. Oh, well, you almond milk,
Oh, you can do
whatever.
almond milk.
I mean,
It's-
whatever,
Yeah.
just something like that.
Oh, like thicker.
Something thick with
Yeah.
honey and the sweet, yeah.
Oh.
So those old school Eastern European tools that have been passed down in my family with all the women,
Those are
So
my favorite.
right, yeah, no, it's interesting for sure. But that tied in with my herbalism, those two passions really helped me. Really helped me through my recovery. Oh yeah, I mean, I was having all kinds of weird stuff happening physically, so that came in handy for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
thank
always
you very much for sharing. I really appreciate you coming and sharing.
Yeah, of course, no problem. I I like to be positive about it. I like to eliminate the shame. I think people need to know that they're not alone, and that this world is hard, and that it's okay if you're struggling, whether it be with drugs or just with life. I think people need to be grounded in the fact that they're not alone, and there's others like them, and there's ways. There's tools, not just with psychedelics, but with the medicine that I promote. There's ways to do things. Um, so yeah, I'm really glad to be here. Really glad to talk about it. I appreciate you guys giving me the space to do so.
Yeah. Uh,
Definitely.
yeah, we always end up going down awesome, adventurous conversations, and this one didn't disappoint once again. So, thank you so much for being here, and we would love to have you on again, and maybe you know talk about anything that comes up in the times. But it's I think growing together and getting past this COVID thing is the number one thing, and it's been it's been fun getting on here and talking to everyone and figuring out different perspectives and different energies and balancing and converging into this podcast. It's been such a pleasure and a blessing to even be here, and we can only go up from here.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. All we can do is commiserate and try to talk it through.
Yep.
Being quiet is not good.
Well,
You need to talk it out.
Right.
yeah, I mean, just thought of something, but um, I was kind of the silent one for a while and just learning different things and only giving myself this education and realized that I had to share my opinions because sometimes people learn from that. And if you just sit there and only help yourself or only learn these things for yourself, then that's great. But if we're all connected and we're all one, then I need to share everything I know so we can, all be on the same page and all have this knowledge to work from and create our own minds and our opinions and think for ourselves. That's my biggest thing is always think for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. That definitely ties in with. Yeah, absolutely. That ties in with the sovereignty. You know, the whole topic. It really, really. Have you guys ever met someone that just doesn't think for themselves? I mean, like,
Uh,
truly doesn't. You
plenty,
know?
Yeah.
plenty. I'm not going to
Yeah.
name names, and I can't remember their names because usually you remember those unique people that stand out and have those different opinions. Usually, when it's
Right.
a person that's not thinking for themselves, they're just saying what they think you want to hear, and they don't think that you know. But we
Right.
know,
Yep.
Yeah. We
yeah,
know.
right, Andrew? We know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a built-in thing. It's a radar. It's like I think Joe Rogan calls it a bullshit meter. I
Yep.
really like how he calls it that because my bullshit meter is working just fine.
Oh, Joe is a heavy presence. I
Yeah.
can't even imagine when he meets people how they react.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can't bullshit my bullshit meter.
Yeah.
Right.
I think Brandon has a strong one. You're very vocal individual.
Thank you.
No, it's a compliment.
Yeah, no, thank you. I just talked to my mom the other day, and one thing she told me was she always tried to get us to think for ourselves and don't just take someone in power's word for it. And I thought that I didn't really know she taught us that, but I've always been that way where I'm questioning everything and I'm going to do my own research on this matter. Not that I don't trust immediately. It's just that I like to, look at all aspects. And if you research from all sides, you learn a lot more about the topic than just taking a word for it.
Yeah, totally. I've been the same. I was a very stubborn little kid, definitely. Oh my gosh, my high school days were that's when it all started. That's when the seeds started germinating in the
Huh.
soil. When I started becoming very difficult. My parents had a hard time with me, bless their souls. I call them every week now and tell them I love them over and over again for everything they put up with.
That happens.
Yep, yep. So yeah, I'm actually curious, Andrew, how old are your kids, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, Andrew has one kid. I think he said kids earlier, but she's 7 and she's a doll.
Oh, that's cute.
Oh, sorry. I was on mute because my kid was actually just in here saying good night to me. Wow.
Oh, that's
No
awesome.
worries.
All right. No, yeah. So I'd said this and I was on mute, but no, yeah, I have one daughter. She is 7, almost 7.5. So, yeah, and that's been quite the experience bringing her up. She is, um, v- well, her mom and I are both very stubborn people. So she could not escape that.
Right.
Welcome to the group.
Those genes were coming to her one way or the other. That and sarcasm. So she's starting to learn how that works. But the
Yeah,
stubborn thing just comes.
sarcasm usually comes with brains, so I
Yeah.
bet she's really smart.
Yep.
Yep. So that's she's fun to deal with.
Yeah, I was about 7 when I started doing little investigations of my own.
Oh man.
My parents would be like, "That's bad. You can't do that." And then I'd be like, what's
Why
bad?"
not?
Like,
Why?
what's considered bad, but why?
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I had 4 brothers to get in trouble with, so
Oh
we
man.
never had a lack of that.
Yeah.
We were investigating everything. I was just talking about, I was like selling grilled cheese on my porch at like 4 years old, and we made all the grilled cheese ourselves. And one thing I did was butter the bread on both sides. Wrong. Oops. But I was 4. I think we made some money that day.
Nice.
Oops. I shouldn't. Yeah, it's not. Hopefully that's not taxable. Oops.
Yeah, hopefully IRS is listening to our show. I mean,
That
NSA
one's
for sure, but not IRS.
I was a kid. Yeah, get all the lemonade kids first.
Probably,
It
I
was
don't
real
think you got
cheese.
like the limit, like the minimum for taxable income, and I'm sure there's some.
No, it was probably $5.
Yeah. Yeah, I when I was little, I mean my parents they were involved in my life. They were very supportive, entrepreneurial parents. That's why I have those ideals now, but anyway, I would go after school and rake leaves for money, and I'd go to the grocery store and I'd bring home like all kinds of shit from the grocery store.
Those were the days.
And my parents would, they didn't know. I would sneak into my room and hide my candy and shit from my sisters because I didn't want, I was like, I'm a capitalist. You don't get this. I was like, no way, this is my money.
Yeah.
But my parents had no idea. And then I think one time I like came home with like a bunch of Brisk. You remember those Brisk canned teas in the vending machines? Oh, dude, those were my favorite. And I brought a bunch home, and my mom was like, "What is that? Where'd you get that? Where'd you get the money? Did Dad give you money?" And I was like, "No, don't worry about it, Mom." And I ran in my room. But yeah, no, I would do the same as a kid. Just take initiative. Try to do that. It's crazy. Kids these days, I have nieces and nephews, they don't, with the phones and the TV and the game consoles and all that shit, they can't, it's like they're never gonna know that life.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid in Michigan and there was 10 cents deposit on every can. My parents drank. So we just woke up early and grabbed all the cans and we would go buy comic books and whatever the heck we want. Mainly Slurpees because we live right by a 7-Eleven.
Nice.
So the Slurpees and comic books and all that fun stuff. So yeah, I felt like I was always a little entrepreneur.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I could have been on Shark Tank.
Could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're ahead of your time.
my parents were very very entrepreneurial. They had their own business before the war started, and then they came out here, and their first jobs weren't the best, but then eventually they started doing their own thing. And yeah, so I always kind of grew up with that. I actually sold gems and minerals and traveled and went to a bunch of different festivals and stuff all the time. And I had my own company. It was called Ouroboros Movement. And I had that for a little bit, for like 3 years. And then I was like, you know what? I'm kind of sick of partying because that's all it was. It was like, I'm an addict. I probably shouldn't be doing this. So now I actually went to school to get my mortgage loan originator license. Super fun.
Right.
I know the title sounds super exciting. But yeah, no, it's going to be great. I'm excited. I'm going to work for Unibel Financial. It's actually my sister's company. She started it 19 years ago with nothing, just a business card and a desk. Yep, that's what she told me.
That's really cool.
So yeah, it's actually I believe it's Colorado's top one of Colorado's top 100 financial groups in the whole state right now. So 19 years later, she became very successful, and she is giving me an opportunity to work with her, which I'm very grateful for. So I can't wait, but it's going to be fantastic because I'm so used to that, that independence. I'm going to be able to just have my own clientele. I'm going to work for myself. It's going to be under my own LLC. So I'm super excited for that. Really important for me to make my own schedule and have my own space to do so.
Yeah. finding that balance again.
Yep.
Mhm.
And it's also going to help me promote that self-sustainable life that I was discussing earlier. It's going to be
Right.
awesome. I'm so excited. I'm going to do I really really want to do USDA loans and help other people get land and start promoting how Brandon talked about having multiple crest stones and multiple seven healing stars and
Yeah.
multiple areas like that, because I know most of my connections that I'm going to contact are going to be people that I met going to festivals that are other entrepreneurs that do want to start those communes, that do want to live self-sustainably. So I'm going to directly contact them and see, if they want to collaborate and I can help them get that land so we could then spread the word,
Yeah, and these are people that have probably been thinking about it for quite a while and now serious. They went
Yeah.
through the same stuff as you, like, oh, I'm doing too much of this or doing too much of that or
Yep.
partying too much, and they figured out what they really want. And I think it takes some of those parties and experiences and life experience to figure out exactly what we want and where we're going. And then we reconnect with people that we remember we had a great conversation with or we connected with, and we just keep those connections flowing. And it is all about being around the right people and just attracting good things and not thinking negatively. We can One thing I do personally is notice everything. So I'm always observing everything. So I'll look at the negatives, I'll look at the positives, but I need to realize that, or had to realize that sometimes people don't want to hear the negatives or how we're going to get there. They just want to know that we're going to get there. And for my mind, I look at the whole map. If you're thinking about it like a road trip, I'm looking at every detour, every stoplight, every on and off the on ramps, and those type of things. Not super crazy or anything, but I like to know the path. Now, if we steer off and go this way, that's awesome. But I like to have the plan from the beginning.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's good. I mean, I'm a huge planner. If the plan goes astray, I lose my shit. I mean, I'm okay with changing plans, I guess, but I'm not okay with changing goals. If my goal gets changed, I freak out.
That's the point. You can
Right.
flex,
Right.
but you have to have a goal set,
Right.
so that way we can all work towards that goal.
Yeah.
And so if someone's off track, it really can push you in a different way.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Definitely. Yeah, my goal with the you know, I don't know. I have this huge vision, and I just feel like, I see myself, having this success with my new certification. My exam is at the end of August, so just for the record, I'm not licensed yet. But yeah, I will be, September come September. So I'm very excited to start that process. I'm very excited to promote that process, and I'm very excited to help individuals, like-minded individuals, to attain that land, to attain that process. So, but yeah, absolutely. That's bringing forth that physical. That's bringing forth um, that intention to setting that example, setting that example.
Yeah.
Just like you said, setting that example to be sovereign, to have that space where, hey, this is mine, generational too. I mean, there's people, out here in Colorado that have had land for centuries. When you think about it,
Yeah.
this is going into the third century now that they've had it. I mean, there's land out here from the 1800s
True.
that have gone down family to family to family, which is really beautiful to me, and that's kind of the whole point of the human race, I think.
Well, we wish you the best at the exam in August.
Thanks.
Yeah, and thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure talking to you and learning so much. And we look forward to next time. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Thank you. All right. And that was the end of that. So that was quite the conversation. Had a lot of fun. Covered a lot of awesome topics. Got a lot of good insights and learned about different things. So that was really good. I mean, just talking about self awareness was really awesome because I love mentioning that and making sure people are aware of that because it is an important thing and we just don't have enough of it around these times.
Yeah. And, sometimes we don't know ourselves. We say it all the time. So it's good to just reflect sometimes and sit back and kind of see what's really going on.
Yep.
So we definitely thank Jovana for coming on, and we would definitely love to talk to her again. It was such a pleasure, and we're in a new world where we need to learn how to take care of ourselves once again.
For sure.
So it's a beautiful thing.
Yep. And we got another one coming for you next week too. Another show.
Yeah. And don't forget to check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Diametric Convergence. Send us an email at diametricsconvergence@gmail.com, and we'd love to hear from you.
Yep. And then we got next week, we got a good one again coming to you. Who we got next week?
Next week, we'll have Barry Raphael representing Lumonics Light and Sound Gallery. He's full of love, light, and inspiration. I know you'll enjoy. Thanks once again, and have a great week.
Yep. Thanks. Keep tuning in. Be sure to follow us. If you listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever, just make sure you follow us and you'll be able to be updated with the latest and newest episodes. Thanks again.